All right, we're live on the air. It's the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Blondin. Yeah, we're back. We're back. It's ready. It's go time. It's Friday afternoon. It's time to get down and dirty on the betting scene as we head into another weekend. And I warn you up front, my voice is like Tua's head. It can go at any time. If you noticed last week, and I'm hoping you noticed, if you didn't notice, I'm in big trouble. There was no podcast. I couldn't speak. My voice left me. And it's hard to do a podcast when you can't speak or make noise. It's hard to yell at your kids. It's hard to shut up the stairs. It's hard to complain about anything when you can't express yourself verbally when your voice is gone. So hopefully it holds out for a few minutes here while we do the podcast. Just in case it doesn't hold out, I got my bottle of water here. But I said to myself, fuck it. Let's open the fridge. Let's see what's there. And I noticed that last Sapporo in the corner of the fridge, that tall boy can, 500 milliliter silver can, glimmering, shining, ready to be drank on this podcast as you would want me to do. And I'm going to do it right now. And I'm going to leave the moment to open it up and let you hear it. Ooh, yeah. Now, for those unfamiliar, Sapporo is a Japanese beer, premium beer. Best to have in cans. Cans is the way to go. Tall boys, you will not be disappointed in Sapporo. And let's take a listen to that first sip. Let's go for the play-by-play of the sip. Golden. That is the stuff. And guess what? If I finish this before the podcast is out, I might go in the fridge and find a Miller Lite. I might find a Heineken. I don't care. It's going to happen. It's Friday. We're here at the Overrated Experience Sports and Sports Betting Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or X at Overrated EXPER2. That's Overrated EXPER2. Follow us, drop us a line, drop us a note, give us a hello. How are you? And for those on X, my followers are a lot of obviously bots, a lot of triple X. Scantily clad women that are apparently following me. But when you look at the history, they're all bots. It's outrageous. I can't believe there are so many out there. And I'm wondering, are there people that get caught up when they see a picture following them, knowing that it's fake or don't realize it's fake? It's amazing. I don't get it. And it seems like even like in the last week or so, it's picked up a lot. So if you see that, well, yeah, great. Join the crew. Join the Overrated crew, but it's not real. It's fantasy world. These are not real people. So it's something I noticed the last week or so that's jacked up quite a bit. And just, we want to talk about more about life in here, life in sports, because the Overrated Experience focuses on sports betting, from a square perspective, you and me, the average person on a Sunday, taking their 2 days off, Saturday, Sunday, sitting down on the couch, cracking a beer, watching the football game, watching a UFC, taking in some puck, taking in some basketball, whatever it may be, and putting a few coins on the game. So that's the kind of podcast you're into right now. But in life in general, I'm telling you right now, life is like the NFL. And everything is golden in life. It's you're moving along, but there's a short window where your value is at an all-time high. Then it's goodbye. Thanks for the memories, but we're moving on. We're moving in a different direction. I almost think life, in your regular life, should have a waiver wire or a ticker where you can, be watching TV and find out who's gone, who's got a life update. But think about the NFL. Many of these guys that have peaked, the NFL is the top of the mountain, right? It's Everest. And many of these guys in the NFL, and this goes for any sport, they start off as kids, as superstars, Pop Warner football, get into junior high school, and the whole thing is they wait till their senior year to start, and then they get to, recruit it, whether it be paid, not paid, but get the schooling going. And their goal is to get in their prime couple years where they're performing, to be looked at from NFL scouts and drafted, first rounder, make it to the NFL. The goal is to get that big contract. And then it peaks. That's it. It peaks and you're done. So I'm sure it's a come to Jesus moment for many of these guys when as soon as that talent starts reducing below the value of your contract, it's got to be an eye opener in life. Then when you're bouncing from team to team now, you're gone. Like I was just looking at Odell Beckham, right? He's been in the league for what, 10 plus years, and he's had a good career. You know, predominantly you think of Odell Beckham as a one-handed catch, wide receiver for the New York Giants, and he spent a lengthy period of time as a New York Giant, and then bounced around to the Rams where he got his Super Bowl ring, and then bounced around to Baltimore, now in Miami, and like, you know, the crazy stat on the Thursday nighter or the Monday nighter, Rams Dolphins, was that the Miami Dolphins don't like to play with too much with three wide, and they got Waddle and Hill, and I'm thinking, why the fuck did they sign Odell Beckham for? I mean, if that is not part of your repertoire on a regular basis, what is the value for bringing Odell in, right? Like I don't understand that. But anyway, Odell Beckham, after a certain point, is bouncing back and forth, bouncing to team, and suddenly he'll be a memory. So it's a kind of a parallel to life. Maybe not on the most famous stage, but one day you're there, one day you're gone, and the next person up. And that's just the way life goes. So remember, try to carve out a little life for you. Put a little nest egg together so that you can call your shots, and but don't be under a delusion that you can't be cut like the next guy. So NFL tells a lot of story about life, and we learn a lot. There's my life lesson as we go into week 11 of the NFL. Heading into the weekend this Sunday, we came out for Thursday nighter, which I'll touch upon in a few minutes. But some big events heading into this weekend. Are you guys going to watch the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight live on Netflix? Like, what do you think is going to happen here? Is this a legit fight? 58-year-old Mike Tyson facing Jake Paul. Hey, Jake Paul, this guy is a marketing machine. Master. Revenue. Promoter. You know, he's a pretty good boxer as well. Don't kid yourself. The guy's, you know, yeah, he's had opponents where they're more mixed martial arts and maybe grapplers. Lost one fight against Scotty. However, he's a decent boxer. Decent boxer. He's not a pushover. And Mike Tyson's 58 years old, and if you remember, and you should, he faded out pretty hard at the end of his career. He was collecting paychecks but getting knocked out, you know, just like every boxer does that hangs around too long. So it's not like he left on top. It's not like a Khabib Nurmagomedov, you know, where he leaves undefeated and you kind of leaves you wanting more. No, we had enough of Mike Tyson. It's cool to see him, you know, back in the ring a few years back, and we're going to see him on Friday night. Are you going to bet this? I mean, let's look at the line right now. Let's bring this up, the Jake Paul fight. So I'm on DraftKings at the moment. And Jake Paul is at minus 235 to win. Plus 190 is Mike Tyson. And, you know, the betting odds are going to Jake Paul. And he's a younger man. I mean, this is a show. This is not... I'm going to say, hey, let's tune in and watch. But this is not a real legit sporting event. There has to be some sort of agreement here. Whether it be not a fix totally, but maybe... we'll only do body shots, you know, for the first couple rounds. And then we'll let it go to the fourth. And then, you know, the best man wins. Who knows? But, you know, in these kind of events, you got to be smart about it. Is the thought, I could redo this. I could do it on Netflix today, but put it on pay-per-view tomorrow. Is that what could happen? Is it in their both best interest this ends in a draw? Is it in the best interest that Tyson wins? Or maybe a controversial ending? Or maybe that controversial ending is a decision. But don't kid yourself and don't throw real money down on this thing thinking that this is maybe not predetermined, but worked in such a way that it's not all legit, just two guys standing in front of each other in a ring and best man wins. So watch out. So Jake Paul and DraftKings minus 235. And you got a lot of total rounds. Like right now, over under 6.5 is minus 110. I believe these are shorter rounds as well. They're not real, like they're like 3-minute rounds or something. So take a look at it. Have some fun with it. Put a few dollars down, but don't go nuts on it. It's kind of like betting the Oscars, kind of betting wrestling, where it's like a phenomenon for entertainment, not real some serious business. And speaking of some real eye-opening in the betting market, did you guys hear that there was an election last week in the United States for the president of the United States? I don't know if you heard that. You may want to check X on that. Maybe Google it. Maybe Chat GBT it. Maybe Grok it, which is the AI version on Twitter, by the way, which is actually pretty decent and useful if you're a premium fan or a premium purchaser with the blue check mark. The betting market really gave a good insight of what was going to happen throughout the night. Now, if you were turning on CNN, you were turning on MSNBC, you were turning on a pocket, whatever, who was following, checking the Electoral College, what states were doing what, county by county, that if you were following on X at the same time, there was a lot of betting action going on, whether it be the overall election, whether it be state by state and line movements that really were accurate where the money was shifting or how it played out. The swing states, a little closer during the day, and then it started separating towards Trump. So the betting market, which I didn't really give much thought to, was on point predicting. And what it means is on point. What I mean by this is that when you see money shifting, I like a football game, like an over-under going up or down, there's usually somebody has some inside information who's put some good, dollars down to move the line. So keep an eye on that next time. The next elections, that if you're interested in putting a few dollars down, follow the betting market. It tends to know what's going on more than Joe Blow on the desk at CNN, who are, it's going to, change later. Trump's got over 100 electoral seats and, it's going to really pick up. This means nothing. No, it meant everything. He crushed the results. So the betting scene was pretty accurate on the political scene, maybe better than the polls, to be honest. Way better than the polls, and you could probably have been cheaper to look at, crazy stuff. So betting outside of the sports world, if you're into that, that was an interesting topic. What else is going on in the world today for betting wise? Well, guess what? UFC 309 as well. John's Boats and Jones. I can't even speak really right now, so excuse me. Stipe Miocic is taking on for the heavyweight championship of the world in UFC 309, Madison Square Garden, Saturday night. Big card. Who knows the future of John Bones Jones? He's hinting at potential retirement after Stipe. Tom Aspinall, who is on the card as a backup if one of those fighters cannot go Saturday night, is the number one contender for the heavyweight championship. And, trying to really call out John Bones Jones to not leave and fight him. That's just going to be his payday. But if you're John Jones, you've been around forever. And maybe you do want to walk away, or maybe you only want to do super fights, right? Kind of do like the Floyd Mayweather thing where you're not really doing MMA to the level of, like Mayweather doing the 15-0 boxing and kind of picking your fights, selling pay-per-views, but it's not meant to take the next up-and-comer. What value is that due to Bones Jones? Is he going to make more money, fighting Aspinall? Maybe Aspinall would make more money fighting Jones, but is he going to make more money fighting him versus taking on a fight from like another classic heavyweight? You know what I mean? Or even a light heavyweight? I think the money's in the, for him, going classic, okay? So we'll see how that plays out, but that's an interesting storyline. Let me take a sip here because my voice is starting to go. Just a heads up, I'm going to try to squeeze in another podcast for props. I probably should have taken last week off because after dominating the prop side of things, 2 weeks ago in week 9 of the NFL, I got hammered. I got crushed. I think I was 2 out of 10 accurate. things did not go for me at all. The CeeDee Lambs of the world banged up. A.J. Brown's banged up. Just awful picks, awful decisions by myself, and got crushed. But speaking of crushed, well, that really didn't lead into anything. So I was going to talk about last night's football game. It was the Washington Commanders taking on the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. And really, the story of this was that the Commanders, this late in the season, were battling for the NFC East, 7-3 versus 7-2, the Eagles. And the Eagles, though, a late game heroics by Saquon Barkley took out the Commanders. And really, the Eagles were the better team. You could tell that the Eagles were the team that has, obviously has gelled many years compared to, Jaden Daniels, first-year quarterback. He did look like a rookie yesterday. Wasn't terrible. He looked like a rookie. Okay? So Jaden Daniels was 22 of 32 for 191 yards, 1 touchdown pass, 3 sacks. But if you really looked at it, he's still playing with those busted ribs. And something was wrong. I mean, he was not freely zipping the ball around. He was low on a lot of passes, almost like he could not swivel those hips to really get the juice on the ball that you're accustomed to. I mean, I don't think he was in a position. Well, let's look at this. At the end of the half, it looked like the Commanders were trying to get themselves in field goal range, could not. And, they were hanging around the 50-yard line, much closer than the Hail Mary he threw it against the Bears. And they handed the ball off. I don't think he's 100% right now, and those ribs maybe are tender compared to what they were even initially after the injury. And I think that was a result of like a lot of these low throws yesterday, and really feeding his running backs and tight ends instead of utilizing his receiver core. That was not the Jaden Daniels that we're accustomed to, and I don't think that was talked much last night. That was not the real Daniels. Okay, so they'll have to keep that in their back pocket when they take on the Eagles later. And I think it's the best thing that could happen to the Commanders right now, that they are heading into a 10-day rest period, because he needs to get those ribs going, because they need him at 100%. Now on the Eagles side, Jalen Hurts looks solid. He looks solid at 221 yards, 18 of 28. He's playing okay, right? And what the real story is, Barkley, 26 rush attempts, 146 yards. A lot of that dominance by Barkley was in the second half. He single-handedly pretty much put the Commanders down yesterday with those 2 late touchdown runs. Dominant runs, right? When you give this guy any room, he's hitting the hole hard. He's not shy of contact, but right now, is he an MVP candidate? Could we talk about Barkley being the MVP candidate? We could, but really, the Eagles are only going as far as well as Jalen Hurts is able to not just feed Barkley, but also feed A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith and Goddard. I mean, it's the quarterback. It all spins around the quarterback. And if Jalen Hurts can be the maestro that gets all the instruments going, then the Eagles have a shot. Because I've heard the talk that the Eagles have the most talented roster in the NFL. Could very well be true. But there's still something about them that leaves you wanting more. Their kicking game is absolute shit. I think we got to the stage where Jake Elliott, once a reliable kicker, has fallen off the map, missed extra points, You can't have a field goal kicker that suddenly has lost range 30 yards and beyond. If your kicker is consistently, or you're not confident can hit 50 and plus, it's time to move on. This is a case where, thanks for the history, Jake Elliott, but it's time to go. We got to move on. And that's life. And that's the life I talked about earlier, that fuck off, Jake Elliott. It's time to bring somebody new in, somebody fresh that can get the job done. Handshake, here's a button for your participation, but it's time to fuck off because we're moving on. And that's how life works. So Jake Elliott, I don't think you'll be seeing him around too long. Now we move into week 11. Some decent matchups coming into this week. Like a lot of teams you feel that are just done. And then you look at, there's so many poor teams in, let's say, the AFC, that do they have a shot at the playoffs? Are the Jets still alive? The Colts still alive? It's pretty wild that how bad, how terrible some of these teams have been that are still alive. Like if I look at the wild card standings right now, obviously the Chiefs are 9-0 to lead the pack. You got the Bills and Steelers and Houston, Texas. I'll give you a shout out, Steelers. I thought you were going to flop. Thought you were going to finish last. I'm going to say it's the genius of Mike Tomlin. And I'm going to comment on that second we get to Steelers, Ravens. Ravens obviously hold down a wild card spot. Chargers are chugging along, doing well. Broncos. Denver Broncos. Looks like Sean Payton, he's managing with what's his name? Damn it, man. Oh my God, this is where you get a brain cramp. He's managing with Bo Nix. Okay, what I mean by that is Bo Nix does look improved week to week, but he still looks like a rookie quarterback. His mechanics are off, some bonehead decisions, but he has talent. He's got arm strength. He's got size. He's got some hops, and I think Sean Payton looks at, I can mold this guy into an NFL quarterback in my system to make him successful, and it's hard to disagree. This 5-5 Bronco team is 5-5 because of coaching, defense, and putting a game plan together that's comfortable for this roster. So you got to give it to Sean Payton. But on the outside looking in, the Colts, Bengals, even the Dolphins, and the Dolphins even play the Raiders this week. You think that's not a 4-6? Do the Jets have an outside chance? Based on the way they play in Arizona, I don't think so. Patriots a 3. It's not, the door's not shut. If somebody goes on a run, that there might be a team that looks out of it right now that might find their way into it later. But a lot of poor teams in the NFL right now. If you look at the NFC, Lions are the class act. There's no question about that. Eagles are not that far behind, but they're, leave you one or more. Falcons are talking about Michael Penix this weekend that, Cousins may not play. Cardinals looking solid. They're leading the division, a division with the 49ers, Seahawks, and Rams. That's 6-4. Kyler Murray looking solid. Vikings, Packers, Commanders hold down the wild card. And the 49ers are 2 games behind in the wild card. They need to kick it up and get make sure they capture that, the division, because they're already 0-1 against the Cardinals at home. So the Cardinals in the driver's seat. Don't fuck it up. Rams kind of took a step back against that loss to Miami. Seattle, do you take them seriously? Tampa, do you take them seriously? I do. I think Atlanta could fall and Tampa could pick it up. Cowboys, fuck off, Cowboys. You suck. All right, so we go into week 11 of the NFL. And the first matchup, we have the Colts and Jets. And I think I fucked up here. I think I put the Jets as home. That's not the case. What the hell's going on? Yeah, the Jets are home. Sorry. And this team's for those who haven't joined before, I've edited since week 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5, whatever. And I've looked at FanDuel, because I'll tell you right now, I look at 2 sports books. I use 2 sports books right now, FanDuel and DraftKings. And if you joined the podcast before, I'm going to give a fuck you, Bet365, because it's been August and I am still waiting on confirmation that the information I sent to authorize that I'm good to go to log back into Bet365 has still not come back. That leads me to believe that they got shoddy administrators, they're really behind, or they don't give a fuck. I'm going to go in door number 3 there, that they don't give a fuck if my business is with them or not. That's a company that has fuck you money. And the person they're telling to fuck you is me. So speaking of fuck you, Jets. Fuck you, Jets. I had a lot riding on that Jets-Cardinals game to go over 47.5 or 46.5 in a game that had 30 points by halftime. Couldn't even meet fucking 42. which I needed. 12 points. I don't even think I needed that and for another, teaser and or alternate line I took. And just red zone opportunity missed by Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. What's the excuse now? This has to be a humbling experience for Aaron Rodgers. It's got to be. But if I'm the Jets, I'm going to hang on one more year with Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to do one more year. But I got to totally sell out on the coaching side of things. I have to sell out. I don't think Bill Belichick's going there. I don't. I just don't think he's had things to say. And obviously the history where he was hired by the Jets for one day and then resigned. I don't think he looks at that organization as a winning organization. And you know what? He shouldn't. The Jets are a fuck up. They're a fuck up. I don't care what players you put on the field. The organization is just a fuck up. They just get in their own way. Awful. But do I hang on to Aaron Rodgers one more year that he's hungry, humbled? They have way too many weapons to be as shit as they are. But something's just not jiving there. And they host the Colts. And they're 3.5-point favorites on FanDuel, 4-point favorites on DraftKings. Why they're that? More than a 2.5? I don't know. I get the Colts have struggled. Now they've gone back to Anthony Richardson, who, honestly, this is a week-to-week league. Because, if you looked at the clippings and the talk 2 weeks ago when they were going with Joe Flacco, it's almost like they went out of their way to tell you, don't expect to see Anthony Richardson here the rest of the year. That lasted 2 fucking weeks. 2 weeks. And it sounds like they were trying to do what I'm reading here today, is they were trying to do a Yoda mind trick on this guy. We sat you, our game plan all along was to kind of build up that urgency and desire from you to want to succeed and listen to the coaching. Get the fuck out of here. You were looking at your record. You were looking at the potential short-term gain, which I could get. The boys in the locker room want to win now. To look at Joe Flacco as a guy who could carry you and maybe go on a playoff run. And I thought, you know what? As far as a short-term gain, yeah. But guess what? The results are not there, so they're going back to Anthony Richardson, probably thinking that, look, fuck it, enough of this. I got to figure out what we have here because this is year 2 of a 5-year rookie contract. And when you spend the capital in a first round that is supposed to be a franchise quarterback, you set the stage for many years in your franchise on how you're building out a football program. And yeah, you do got to cut ties at some point, a.k.a. Trey Lance on the 49ers, which turned out to be the right decision. I don't think you're in a position right now where you can make a decision this early on Anthony Richardson. And at the end of the day, he needs reps. You got to put him in there. What was your thought process when you drafted a guy that had tremendous upside based on developing and getting more reps? He did not have the reps at Florida. So there's another situation where you raise a flag and say the Colts organization, you have no idea what the fuck you're doing. You're 1 week flip-flopping like a politician and name a state, name a country. Fuck, it's Tuesday. Let me decide this. Oh, fuck, it's Thursday. Let me do this. That's the Colts for you. But when it comes down to the line, because that's why we're here, that's why you're listening, I'm going to say that the Jets get it done. They cover the 3.5 against the Colts. And this is more like you degenerate fucks just like me, that sometimes when you have a thought in your head about a game that's going one way and that son of a bitch live line that you can look at any time, put some money down, that you keep chasing because you can't believe that you were so wrong, not slightly wrong, completely wrong on how something would turn out. Right? You thought it was going to be a fucking shootout and there's 3 points scored in the first half. Oh, that can't happen in the second half. They got to light it up. And that's kind of the feeling with the Jets right now, right? Oh, they can't be this shit, right? They beat the Houston Texans on a Thursday night and they laid an egg against Arizona, but that possibly can happen against the Colts. So I'm going to go against my own wisdom here. I'm going to take the Jets at -3.5 and hoping that the Jets are there's no more wiggle room. This is it. Like, have you ever watched Rounders where, the girl from is it O'Shea's? Whatever the fuck it was, because Worm has gone there and, ran up a tab on Mike, aka Matt Damon, and he's ran you up under such and such amount. He goes, here's 1,000, but can you take him off the tit? So this is the situation the Jets are on. This is it. I can't go any more in this. So Jets, you're on the final lifeline. Like, you're almost flatlining right here. So let's see what happens. I'll put my faith one more week into the New York Jets. But you're off the tit after this one. Game of the week. Yeah, I'm going to stick with it. Game of the week. I don't care about the Bills, Chiefs. I get it. It's game of the week. But come on, the most interesting game of the week is Baltimore-Pittsburgh. The Ravens head into Pittsburgh, 3-point favorites. Pittsburgh's first divisional. We're in week 11. It's a first divisional matchup. Can you believe that? Is that good or bad? Is it indifferent? Is it in the middle? I don't know. I feel that benefited Pittsburgh. No question. Why do I think it benefited Pittsburgh? I think the pressure, I think they're in a better position where I don't know how to express this, articulate it. Is that the Steelers, probably any member of this division feels more heat if they take a loss or against a division opponent. I'm sure the Ravens heard it when they lost in Cleveland, right? Simple as that. But I think there's an advantage to Pittsburgh not having a divisional matchup, and I think that's way too long, week 11. Let's say the Pittsburgh Steelers were 500 right now. Let's say they were 5-5, 5-4, 4-6. I think it does them the favor that they then have the division opponents to kind of creep up if the division was still in earshot, because then they get all these head-to-head matches. There's hope. So I think advantage Pittsburgh. But when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers in the season they have, I talked about earlier that they should have picked up the rear of this division. The rear, the back end. They signed Russell Wilson. They trade for Justin Fields. And then you look at the organization itself. Look, you can't discount. I want you to really stop and think about sports and the leadership and the way teams are run and organizations are put together and decisions they make. You can't ignore. It's not about just picking the best players. It's everything about the organization. And in football, it's about building a program. A program. The Steelers traditionally, in the Super Bowl era, have had 3 coaches. That's fucking wild. Think about 3 fucking coaches. And Mike Tomlin, year over year, is just showing, I don't know if there is an exception, but hey, I'm smarter than everybody else out here. He knows every aspect of his organization to maximize the success of every team he puts out in the field on every season that he's had. And yes, he's a Super Bowl champion. He's been to a Super Bowl and lost. He's had years where they've simply made the playoffs and lost. But he has managed and maxed out the talent and shifted and changed strategy to be successful, and probably brought every ounce of talent and skill set with key decisions to maximize the Steeler performance and success during a season, whether it be Super Bowl or not. The goal is always Super Bowl, no question. But he has maximized every ounce of talent to go as far as they possibly can. Right? And they've had some shit teams. And he's maximized. They've had some shit seasons where they have to deal with tons of injuries. And he's found a way. So look at the makeup of this team. This team is built on defense. It's built on ball, position, field position. He walked in with 2 quarterbacks, decided to go with Justin Fields. I don't know if that was mostly because Russell was banged up. Decides, after a successful start to the season, that, hey, I got to make the decision to know what I have in Russell Wilson. Let's go ahead and start him. No other coach in the NFL right now would have the balls to make that decision, a.k.a. the Colts. Scared little bitches that they are going by, let me put my finger up in the wind. Let me look at the gopher, look at a shadow and make a decision. No, he had the balls and knows he has the reputation, has confidence in his talent evaluations. It says to himself, I think Justin Fields did an admirable job. We could probably scrape by. But when I got a superstar receiver out there in George Pickens, and he's just fucking walking around running routes out there, and nobody's getting the ball, how can I maximize what I have in this team? So Russ, let's ride. You're in, bitch. Let's go. And I'm the first guy to tell you, Russ Wilson, to me, is not their Super Bowl quarterback. There will be a ceiling at some point. But I'm sure as hell telling you that he's maximized so far up to this point the effectiveness of Russell Wilson, whether it's protecting, limiting Russell Wilson to what they want him to do. It's worked. It's worked. They find a way to win. I'm not a Steeler fan. I respect Mike Tomlin. I respect the Steeler organization. So when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Jets, these teams are fuck-ups. And the opposite of that are the Steelers, are the Ravens. The Ravens are an outstanding organization. And that's why this is impressive to me, the Baltimore Ravens and Steelers. I think this will be a wake-up call. I think Lamar Jackson is on a mission. I don't even think he is thinking MVP. I don't think he gives a fuck. There's a lot of people out there just so want to shove it in your face that you need to respect Lamar Jackson. You need to put him on a pedestal and give him the respect that he needs. You're right? It always people bitching and moaning about Lamar Jackson and give him the respect like he's been shunned or something. No. He has been what he has. He's been great in the regular season, has dropped the ball in the playoffs, and you then look at the flaws in the game. He's not Patrick Mahomes. I don't give a shit what anybody says. He's not Patrick fucking Mahomes. So what if Patrick Mahomes doesn't run around for an hour or win 31-30 or 35-34 shootouts? Yes, entertaining. He's a must-have. But I'll take Patrick Mahomes because I'm looking at Super Bowls. That doesn't mean I think Lamar Jackson is playing right now the best he's ever played to put the Ravens in a position to go into Kansas City, to host Kansas City, most likely go in with the records that we have now, and have a real legitimate shot of going to the Super Bowl. I think Lamar Jackson has decided, fuck it. I'm going to bring all these tools, all these players, all these weapons, name them, whatever on the team. Derrick Henry, receivers, whatever, Bateman, Andrews. And I'm going to go out of my way to, instead of take off out of the pocket, I have to make the game plan putting the ball in these guys' hands. They have to be a part of the success of the Ravens. Or when it comes to crunch time, when I need them, when that KC defense is putting pressure, collapsing the pocket, they will be there because they're game tested. And that's what I love. And that's what I'm seeing from Lamar Jackson. I can see the bigger picture is there. So outside of Patrick Mahomes, give me Lamar Jackson. You're absolutely right. But it's okay to say he's not there. Right? He's got to prove it. Simple as that. So going into this game, long-winded, the Ravens are 3-point favorites on FanDuel. DraftKings has the Ravens 3.5-point favorites. This will probably be a tight game. It always is. But I'm still going to take the Ravens. You got it. -3. They win by 4, let's say. Not going to spend a lot of time here. Minnesota travels to Tennessee. Tennessee coming off a win last week. Minnesota squeaking by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, we have another team, the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis is going to be in there so they can make a decision of what they have. 5.5. This is where the stock of Sam Darnold, right, comes into play. You know, and do you have full faith? He's getting picked off now. But I think they got enough to squeeze by the Titans. And I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings at 5.5, not the 6 that is on DraftKings. Interesting, but really not. Matchup. Jameson Winston, the Cleveland Browns, traveled to New Orleans, take on Derek Carr and the injury-riddled New Orleans Saints. The Cleveland Browns come in as a 1.5 point favorite on FanDuel, 1 point favorite on DraftKings. Nothing about Cleveland tells me that they should be a favorite, regardless of how the state of the Saints are. The Saints did win, knock off the Falcons at home. The Falcons are a better team right now than the Browns. Again, there could be information I'm missing here based on the latest update when I'm doing this podcast. But I will take the New Orleans Saints plus 1.5 on FanDuel. Really not a lot to talk about in some of these games, right? Jacksonville heading into Detroit. Does anybody really believe that Jacksonville has a hope in hell to knock off the Detroit Lions? Now, what I love about the Lions is that I don't think they take the foot off the gas regardless of who they're playing. They may be the team that can not have an overlooked game. I don't even consider that loss against Tampa Bay an overlook. The way the Tampa Bay played them earlier in the year was successful. The Lions, did you have a doubt that they would come back against the Texans? They didn't have their best game. Goff threw 5 interceptions. Some were on him. Some were just situational, like a Hail Mary at the end of the first half. So 13.5 points. I'm going to give me the Lions, especially if we got like Mac Jones starting for the Jaguars. Green Bay into Chicago, right? You know, I think the expectation here was that this would be a hype matchup based on Caleb Williams for the Bears, number overall pick. And man, the last week or so has been just a shit show for the Bears. People are shitting on this whole organization, shitting on, rumors are that the team is going to the organization saying, bench Caleb Williams, get him out of there. And Waldron, offensive coordinator, let go. And Evenflus, coach, is on the hot seat. And, you're as an organization, man, you're in the driver's position. You're the first overall pick. I don't think that the move to draft Caleb Williams is the wrong one. Like, you had to make that move. I think there was more upside on taking what was considered like a franchise quarterback and moving on from Justin Fields. And keep in mind, Justin Fields was a serviceable quarterback right now for the Steelers. But they also knew he wasn't going to take him to the promised land. So get that out of your head that the best move would have been to keep Justin Fields. If anybody thinks that, think bigger. Think bigger. Think your approach here is, I want to build a Super Bowl contender, not just a get-by kind of goddamn team. All right? If you're thinking that Justin Fields, they should have kept him, for what? A potential slip into the playoffs and get fucked up by the Lions? Or get fucked up by the Eagles? Get your head out of your ass. Get your head out of your ass. Okay? So, Packers are 5.5 point favorites, both on DK and FanDuel. Now, what I'll say here is, I'm getting a flashback because I needed an alternate line, a teaser for the over-under in the New England game. And they just look so bad. They look so bad offensively, like stalled drives. Like Caleb Williams looks lost out there. Like I know he's trying to go through his progressions. He is slow. It hasn't sped up at all. And you look at like Jaden Daniels. I said he had an off night last night, but he looks like a guy I have confidence in that could lead a drive, and feel a threat. But Caleb Williams is not in the right position. And organizationally, They fucked up. Like maybe they're one of the fuck ups too. There was a video online. I wish I could quote the gentleman, but he was going through the last 15 years of the Bears and the kind of moves in the organization with new quarterbacks. You fire a coach, you bring a coach in. Sorry, you fire a coach. So let's look at this. You fire a coach. You have a shitty season. You draft a quarterback. They have a shitty season. Fire that coach. Bring in a new coach. It's not their quarterback. Bring in a GM, coach. And the same cycle happens all the time where that new coach, they're not part of the process to pick that franchise quarterback. So it's just bad. It's just bad organizational structures. They can't do business correctly. Again, keep your eye to that. It's not just about, the teams they put together. It's just how they've made moves or lack of moves or front office decisions or personnel choices. They're not good. They're very bad. And the Bears fall into that category. So fuck it. I'm going to take the Packers 5.5. I talked myself into the Packers covering. Now this is a interesting matchup. The Las Vegas Raiders head to Miami. Take on the Miami Dolphins, where looked a little better against the Rams. Moved the ball decently. I think the 7 points might be a little big, but what does Vegas have to offer? You know what they got to offer? Fuck all. They got to offer nothing. This might be a time where, the Dolphins maybe blow out a team. So I'll take the Dolphins at 7 on FanDuel to cover. But is it me or is it just you when we talk about Tua? He threw a pick, or there was a pick in the Rams, and he's going shoulder first to try to tackle the guy who intercepted the ball. What are we doing? Tua, what the fuck are you thinking? And what are the Dolphins thinking? You have to be realistic that the value of a Tua that you've already paid, you've already committed to, is to keep him on the field, keep him in the pocket. That's why you have a quick passing game, so he's not hanging out in the pocket too long. So I think he's got to be honest with himself. How do I survive and have a long career in the NFL? And I can tell you, it's not going fucking head first to some guy's fucking tree trunk thighs linebacker who just picked the fucking pass off. You're insane. You're going to end your career. And the Dolphins have to look at Tua, frankly, not only as a human being, but as an investment. You said, I want you to be my quarterback for the next so and so many amount of years. You just witnessed what it was like without him for multiple weeks, where you basically have parked, the Waddles and the Hills of the world because you don't have a quarterback and get the ball to them. You have to be smarter. You have to make decisions that fit the situation. So Tua, get your head out of your ass. God. Dolphins, -7. Rams, New England, 4.5. Honestly, I have no confidence in the Rams. I think, the Patriots, maybe got a little life going here. I'm going to take them +4.5. I'll take them +4.5 on DraftKings. Not much said there. I mean, the LA Rams are Jekyll and Hyde. Weather, man, I don't have confidence. I just don't have confidence in the Rams. Drake May has been pretty decent for the Patriots, and we'll see where it goes. But I'm taking a flyer on the Patriots here +4.5. Enough about that one. So is Penix or Cousins? I don't know. So right now, heading into Denver. Denver's a 1.5 point favorite on FanDuel, 2 point favorite on DK. Excuse me. 43.5. Even with Penix in there, like Michael Penix likes to light it up. I can't see the Broncos are getting some high scoring games, man. They're moving the ball. Things are happening. But I'm going to go with the Broncos on this one. 1.5. Got to take it. Not sure what's going on. Thin air in Denver. Take the Broncos. I think they'll get out-coached. The Falcons will out-strategized. And it will come down to a last-second field goal. Seattle-San Francisco divisional matchup. 49ers at home. Second game against the Seahawks. 49ers 6.5-point favorites coming off. Have you seen it last week in Tampa Bay? 3 missed field goals. Deebo Samuel's throwing punches at, the long snapper, ripping into Jake Moody, kicker. Not good on the sidelines, but I'm thinking Deebo, man, he's probably thinking, I am busting my ass here, busting my body, risking injury, and you're missing these fucking field goals. Get your shit together. So I get it, but just, hopefully those things don't unwind a team. Maybe it inspires. I don't know. So I'll take the 49ers 6.5. Seattle I have no faith in, to be honest. Kansas City, Buffalo, what is considered the game of the week. I told you I believe the Baltimore Pittsburgh game is the game of the week. Bills are favored by 2.5. The game of the week, if you look at Kansas City's perspective, they're 9-0. 10-0 or 9-0, I can't remember, whatever. They're undefeated. And they went into Buffalo last year in the playoffs, knocked them off. Knocked them off at home in the playoffs. So, this is more of a Buffalo Bills type Super Bowl big game than it is for the Kansas City Chiefs. So let's be honest. It's a big game, no question. But I think it's one perspective that this is a bigger game than it is than the Chiefs look at it. You give me an underdog as far as the Chiefs, I'm going to take them every day. So I'll take them plus 2.5. Patty Mahomes. Bills have flaws. There's no question about this. They have flaws. They're not a perfect team, and I think that's where Kansas City comes in, squeezes them. Defense, put some pressure on Josh Allen, or allow him to run a little bit, but not dominate them. So take the Chiefs anytime. They're plus money. Cincinnati, LA Chargers. What do we got here? Sunday nighter. Chargers are a 1.5 favorite, both on FanDuel and DK. Excusez-moi. Cincinnati coming off a tough loss, 10-day rest against the Ravens. Real shootout there. Arguably could have been, flagged for a pass interference on that last play where they went for 2. The Chargers are having a solid season, but I just picture that the Bengals are not going to let the opportunity to hang around the wild card. I think they're a step above of what the Chargers are. And I don't see a reason why the Bengals don't end up winning this football game. So give me the Bengals plus 1.5. That's a lock. Lock it in. Oh, yeah, we got to talk about the Monday Nighter, the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys! How about them Cowboys? Cowboys are shit. That's what they are. Cowboys, talk about a fucked up scenario. That is the organization that they call the Cowboys. Jerry Jones is leading the team. Jerry Jones is coming in saying he's got the talent. Couldn't sign Derrick Henry. Couldn't afford it. Last minute sign CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. Prescott's gone. Cooper Rush. Don't even want to go to Trey Lance. Trey Lance, a former early first round pick. Don't even want to give a shot. You got fucking you really, for the Cowboys, you got garbage time right now for the rest of the year. There's no hope. Like, Cooper Rush is not a NFL starting quarterback. What's the goal here? What's the plan? They are a mess. They are lost. They are 7-point underdogs on DK, 7.5 points on FanDuel against the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans looked like they were picking it up against the Detroit Lions after losing against the Jets. Something off with the Texans right now. Something really off, right? But when they walk into Dallas, do they clean that up? Do they walk into Dallas and I stomp on them? Joe Mixon just running all over them. And yeah, I do. Give me 7, DK. Give me the Texans. Well, I just spit some knowledge on you here. Not literally spit, but you know what I mean. For the kids out there who understand that. Those are my takes, my thoughts, my feelings. NFL is flying since September. Already in week 11. It's going to end before we know it. Glad to be back this week. Hope to drop a props podcast. Please please go responsibly in that Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight. Join us on X at Overrated EXPER2. Overrated EXPER2. Pleasure's all been yours. The Overrated experience is over and out. Bye-bye.